But sticking there on the theme with Ole Miss, let's kick it on down to Oxford, where the Rebels set to host Vanderbilt for their final home game of the season. And interestingly enough, I mean, no one's expecting this to be a game, of course, the way Ole Miss, number 10 in the country, Vanderbilt, they are 2 losses away from 2 seasons without an SEC victory. Massive, massive favorites here are the Ole Miss Rebels. But of course, in a game like this, you always got to be concerned of a little bit of a hangover. How will the Rebels bounce back after beating Texas A&M? After getting, the college game day was there. It was such a hyped game. But in Lane Kiffin's mind, a little bit disappointed. The Aggies were able to run their offense with no silent count. That's an issue. We'll get to Kiffin's comments here in a minute, but the AD, some of the players, they're urging fans to come out. And maybe it's hard to get up for Vanderbilt. I understand that, but this could be real danger of sleeping on the Vanderbilt Commodores. So let's kick it over to Lane Kiffin, who, he's letting the fans know this is probably going to be the last opportunity you're ever going to get to see Matt Corral in Oxford with the Rebels. I don't think that's a huge surprise or anything, but it is interesting that you got a head coach out here calling it, while Matt Corral obviously has another season of eligibility remaining. But let's kick it over to Kiffin, who's not really holding anything back here.
Just your thoughts on Vanderbilt. I know maybe not you guys, but the fan base looking ahead to Thanksgiving night already. How do you temper that with your guys, and what do you think about Vandy?
Well, all you got to do is look around the country. Happens every week. There's Texas, Kansas, Florida went to South Carolina, these big number favorites. And it's an SEC game. So, we've had issues with all 3 phases at some point of the year, so there's no looking ahead. We're excited to be playing at home. To me, it should be a challenge to our fans that Texas A&M didn't use a silent count, which is pretty unheard of in this conference, to go on the road and use a verbal count. Should be a challenge to our fans to cheer louder. So, like I said, senior day and, probably the quarterback's last day. Hopefully we show up.
All right, and then on the flip side, of course, this is going to be Clark Lea's only opportunity to see what his defense can do against Matt Corral. Last season, it was a joke. Vanderbilt just got destroyed. I think it was like 50-something to – I can't remember the score, but I'm pretty sure Vanderbilt got about 50 points put on them on about 3 quarters. It was a laugher. There's a new Vanderbilt, though. The results not really showing on the field just yet, but Clark Lee was asked about Matt Corral, what he sees in him, and about the defense. Getting so many pressures, getting all these turnovers left and right, that is obviously going to be the only way the Vanderbilt Commodores stay in this game. Maybe you get the Matt Corral 4, 5, 6 turnover game. We haven't seen that all season from Matt Corral, so certainly not suggesting that's going to happen, but we've seen it in the past. Again, could they be overlooking the Vanderbilt Commodores? It's going to be hard not to, given the fact how low they are at the moment and how high Ole Miss is after beating Texas A&M. So let's kick it over to Clark Lee, who gives a scouting report on Matt Corral and this Ole Miss offense.
Along those lines, how do you evaluate Matt Corral relative to the other quarterbacks you faced this year?
Well, he's a creator. He's a guy that has the ability to extend plays and throw from multiple arm angles and find open receivers. It's not going to always be the way it looks in the playbook. It's gonna be his ability to make the play that's required to move the ball forward. He's athletic. He's got a good arm, and he's got good people around him. And so, I think we have a challenge that's obviously the offense starts with him, as is most of the case, but certainly a guy that we feel like is dangerous and that we're going to have to be attentive to in our planning to make sure we have a chance to slow them down. But he's a good player, and I think what makes him really good is his ability to create. And the play's never over. The receiver's never covered. You got to assume he's going to be able to extend and find somebody late, and we're going to have to be on our toes and addressing that challenge.
Outside that one, Chris Pierce interception at the end of the first half, you kind of struggled to generate turnovers against Kentucky. Was there anything specifically that they did to kind of limit that? And, what kind of, is there anything that you need to do to kind of be able to get more pressure against Ole Miss?
Well, I think that you answered the question there at the finish. We weren't able to impact the quarterback. And when you can't impact the quarterback and he can throw in a clean pocket, it's hard to make the play on the ball down the field. And we had opportunities to. I mean, it's the frustrating part of it isn't always like, we have free runners at the quarterback. We have techniques that we use to disrupt the ball, to mirror hand, to impact the arm or the follow through the quarterback that that we weren't doing. And so it's getting back to the basics there. It's continuing to make the disruption of the thrower a priority. And when we've had turnovers this season on defense, some of it is guys making plays, but a big part of it is getting the pressure to either speed up the quarterback's clock or somehow impact follow through to get the throw off target.